A very long time ago, the world was a place filled with noise and anger. Violence had become so common that people barely noticed it anymore. They ignored justice, they ignored compassion, and they ignored the God who had created them in the first place. With each passing day, the world sank deeper and deeper into a shadow of its own making. But amidst all this darkness, one man was different. His name was Noah. He lived with integrity, with a sense of right and wrong, even when almost everyone else had forgotten what those words meant. One evening, as the world continued its descent, God spoke to Noah. The voice was clear, cutting through the chaos like a beam of light. "The end of all flesh has come before me," God said. "Build an ark." The instructions were incredibly precise. The ark was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. It needed to have 3 levels inside, with rooms throughout. There would be one door on its side and a window near the top. It had to be built from sturdy gopher wood and sealed inside and out with pitch to make it waterproof. Noah didn't ask why. He didn't question the logic of building a massive ship on dry land. He simply listened. The very next morning, Noah gathered his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They went into the forest. They began to cut down massive trees, working until their arms ached and their hands were raw. They hauled the heavy trunks back to a large clearing, and soon the air was filled with the scent of fresh-cut timber and sap. Naturally, a project this huge didn't go unnoticed. People from the surrounding areas started to show up. They'd stand at a distance, watching and whispering. "What is he building?" One would ask. "Is that a ship?" Another would say, followed by laughter. "But we're miles from any sea." Mockery was their first response. It was easier for them to laugh than to think about what was really happening. But Noah paid them no mind. He and his sons kept working, their focus absolute. Noah measured every beam, every plank, with the exactness God had commanded. Shem was skilled at shaping the boards. Japheth expertly carved the supports and joints, and Ham worked tirelessly, sealing every seam and crack with dark, sticky pitch until the entire structure was coated in a waterproof layer. Day after day, the rhythmic sounds of their labor echoed across the hills, the sharp strike of hammers against wood, the groan of heavy timbers being lifted into place, the steady scraping of tools. The massive frame of the ark, slowly, methodically, took shape against the skyline. Throughout this entire process, Noah didn't just build. He also warned the people who came to watch. "Turn from your violence," he would plead. "A flood is coming to cleanse the earth." But his words fell on deaf ears. They would laugh, shake their heads, and return to their corrupt lives, dismissing him as a madman. The construction of the ark wasn't a quick project. It took years. The seasons changed, turning from summer to winter and back again, over and over. Children who had watched the first trees fall grew into adults. The ark grew taller and longer, becoming a structure unlike anything the world had ever seen before. It was a silent, wooden testament to one family's unwavering faith. While the world around them continued its downward spiral of corruption and chaos, Noah's family continued their work with a quiet, steady determination. Noah's obedience wasn't a single, grand, dramatic act. It was the sum of countless small acts, repeated day after day, year after year. It was consistent. It was steady. It was unshaken by the ridicule of others or the sheer scale of the task before him. He simply trusted the instructions he had been given and carried them out, one piece of wood at a time. Finally, the day came when the last plank was hammered into place. The final coat of pitch had been applied and had hardened under the sun. The great vessel stood complete, a silent giant resting on the dry earth. And then, something truly astonishing began to happen. Animals started appearing. They weren't wandering aimlessly. They approached the ark with a clear sense of purpose. In pairs, creatures of every kind made their way toward the massive wooden structure. Lions walked calmly near lambs. Wolves trotted alongside rabbits. Foxes, deer, oxen, and every kind of bird and insect you can imagine, all came in an orderly procession. These wild, untamed creatures moved with a strange peace, as if guided by an invisible hand. The people who had once laughed now watched in stunned silence. The mockery was gone, replaced by a growing sense of unease. This was something they could not explain away. Seeing that the time had come, Noah went to the great door of the ark and opened it wide. The animals filed inside, one pair after another, moving through the entrance and finding their places within the ark's 3 spacious levels. The low rumbles of the larger animals and the chirps and calls of the smaller ones filled the enormous wooden interior. When the last of the animals was safely inside, Noah gathered his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives at the entrance. As they stood there, the sky began to change. Dark, heavy clouds started to gather, unlike any they had ever seen before. The air grew still and heavy. Noah took one last look at the world he had known his entire life, the fields, the hills, the familiar landscape, and then he stepped across the threshold into the ark. His family followed him, and then the massive door, a piece of wood so heavy that no single person could have moved it, began to shut on its own. With a deep, final thud, it closed, sealing them inside. God had shut the door. For a brief moment, there was a profound silence, both inside and outside the ark. The world held its breath. Then a single drop of rain fell. It was followed by another, and then 1,000 more. Soon, the rain was not just falling. It was hammering down on the roof of the ark in a relentless torrent. Simultaneously, water began to surge from the depths of the earth. The flood rose with terrifying speed, swallowing the roads, the fields, and eventually even the mountains. Inside the ark, the massive structure groaned once as the rising water lifted it from the ground. Then it began to drift. Noah stood with his family in the dim light of the interior, steady and silent. He didn't understand everything that was happening, but he didn't need to. He trusted the one who had spoken to him. Noah had built the ark out of pure obedience, and because he had listened, a remnant of the world would survive. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you in the next video.